So, Amanda, you got any comments on those issues?
Yeah, look, I really, one of the things I really love in ESS BizTools, I love a lot of it, but one of them is definitely that charge out rate analysis. I think that is absolute gold. I used to do something, very formative compared to what you have, but we used to do that with all of our clients. So, our tradies, we would look at, and particularly tax planning. I had a client, and every year we do his tax planning. I said, is there anything else you want to know? He said, oh, can I just have a look at the charge out rates? Am I making enough? And we would actually do that. And it was literally on the back of an envelope. But the power of having, like, how many, if you think about it, I'd love everyone to go back when they go back to their offices. How many tradie people do you have? How many could you actually offer this service to? And, I don't know, what do you reckon you'd charge for it, Peter? Like
Well,
if you,
one of our clients, I'll give you his example.
yep,
When he when
yep,
he came when he came to us, he had 10 tradie clients, and
yep,
he'd heard that we had this tradie charge out rate calculator.
mm,
He then he claims there was no promotion, no advertising, just by word of mouth. He now
yep,
has 110 tradie clients. He
yep,
charges them on average $8,000 each more than what they were previously paying him for the annual accounts and tax returns. He
yep.
has a monthly set financial accounts are prepared for about 80% of them. The rest get every 3 months. If you
Right,
want
okay.
it any longer, he won't act with you.
Yeah, okay.
Because they also recheck the charge out rate calculation based
Right.
on the actual result. So they've got a result for 1 month, and geez, something's wrong there. They go back and look at the productivity of the individual team members, and
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, we got to fine tune if they can. If they're in the middle of a contract,
Sometimes you can't, yeah, and sometimes you can't. But I think, as like from an SME point of view, literally we've probably got two opportunities a year to change it. So you change it, 1 July, 1 January. That would be,
that's normal."
some
Yeah.
people would only perhaps change up once a year, and that's fine. But I think, just putting it up by CPI may not be enough, right? People know, because if they haven't been putting them up during COVID, or their costs have increased, particularly during COVID, Peter, when we were having, the not being able to get materials. Like some of them, certain plyboard and certain things, it had gone up 30%. But if people weren't actually looking at that, they're not going to, increase, like that's charge out rates plus also the materials. So I think, if you could not get your business, your tradie clients to do a charge rate analysis, like it's probably like, I reckon, depending on the complexity and how many, employees they've got and what sort of, what their overheads and that are, like if you couldn't charge between $500 and $1,000 for you to do that calculation, sit in front of the client and add real value, I would be a really bad judge.
Oh, yeah.
From that, you then, so like, and I'm saying, but if you've got a small practice and you think, okay, I've got X amount of tradies and I could really, no brainer. And even if you sell it as an introductory rate, this is the first year I'm doing this, an intro rate. So if you find, oh gosh, I probably should have charged 1,000, not my 500 or 750. Well, next year it's the new rate. It's all a bit of trial and error. And as you get quicker, you will actually be able to do them, and then you'll be able to identify particular issues with the client. That then flows on to being able to do a budget, which then can charge another between
Sure.
$500 to $1,000. All of a sudden, that's at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per client. They are not going to complain because you've helped them add how much money extra to the bottom line. You've been able to, because if they say, look, I'm going to have to pay this extra guy, like even though, and which is what I would do with the charge out rates, Peter, I say, look, the CPI is going to be like, let's say 5%. Now you could pass on, you're already paying your employee above award, but if you don't pass on at least CPI, they're getting a pay cut. But then do we actually give them more than CPI? Because we do not want to lose that client, that employee. We want to keep them. We want to keep them motivated. We want to keep that productivity level. So it might be we give them 7.5. So in my tax planning letter, I would actually talk about that. And 7.5, but they've got to get this much chargeable, their charge out rate. So there's so many different things you can be discussing with your client. So that's my favorite tool. And that's what I think from that, what you've talked about, is definitely looking at that. And then there's other KPIs that you just, we learned at uni, but who does them these days? you know, but they are so critical. You know, when you think about everyone, when you did cost accounting,
Yeah,
like that's what we're talking about. Cost accounting, second year accounting. And you think we're never going to need to know about the widgets and this and that. That's exactly what our clients need to know. And that's that fiscal management. They have no idea about that, Peter. And
Mm.
we're not even doing it. And I know a big and I hear a lot of advisors say, oh, I don't feel I've got confidence. Peter, this is what I'm seeing, like a lot of small to solo accounting practice owners that have been quite comfortable doing all the BAS and the financial statements. I think, how on earth am I going to do tax planning? How on earth are going to get into some of this stuff? Like literally, it's like riding a bike. You will remember all that stuff from cost accounting. You can add incredible value to your clients. So please don't sell yourselves short. We've got tools here in ESS BizTools. You've got tools in your toolkit that you got at uni. We just got to actually get them back out and use them, because we've sort of lost a bit of that.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
right.
actually the critical stuff that, and you know, if you had a bigger business, you had the CFO, they would be doing that.
That's
Do you
right.
think Woolies, Coles, Qantas aren't doing this cost accounting, but our small business people aren't? And that, I think, goes to Paul Robson's point.
That's
You
right.
know, and so please, everyone, if one thing we can leave you with, you've got support, you've got tools, and you've got you know what you've learned. Like, so don't feel like, and once you start doing it, you'll get that confidence. So if you feel like you just want to charge 500 because it might be a little bit slower for you to do it, charge 500. It's extra money in your pocket, and it's actually getting this client on that journey of that trust, and for you to do more for them.
Thanks for that, Amanda.